Good morning, everyone. This is Chris from HashRelay.net, bringing you another early morning market update. And today, Binance has got some good news. They are back and trading, and they say if you've got any issues with the original URL, they've got some additional links that you can use. There was DDoS attack, likely because people were fighting over hacks. But if you were using Binance, and you wanted to go on and make some trades while we're in the bottom tail of this market correction, then they are back online and you can go. In other news, Coincheck, if you'll remember from a week ago or so, this exchange was hacked and had roughly $500 million worth of NEM stolen. They are opening their exchange to yen withdrawals starting on Tuesday. And the Korean exchange, Bithumb, is open to registration again. The KYC procedures are in place and in compliance with Korean law. If we go over to CoinMarketCap and let it load, you can see that we're right at the $400 billion mark for the global market cap. We're still at $23 billion for daily trading volume. And Bitcoin lost the 35% dominance mark, but they're both showing, Bitcoin and Ethereum are both showing positive growth above that $8,000 and $800 mark respectively. We're seeing some slight negatives in a few of the popular coins today, but for the most part, the whole market is moving upwards. If we go to on-chain FX and let it reload, we can see that we're getting some more coins that are closer to that 50% down from all-time high. Monero, Steam, 51%. EOS and VeChain at 54%. These guys are pretty close to coming back to under the half-off mark from all-time highs. Here we'll take a look at the TradingView charts. Bitcoin is definitely emerging closer to the downtrend line. You see right as I clicked over, this was a green doji candlestick. Now it's red, showing some small bit of indecision. We're coming up to test the yellow line here on the MACD. Very tiny bars below this zero line on the histogram. And we're pretty flat on the RSI, right around the 35 mark. For Ethereum, we're seeing it's got a nice sort of small green candle, but it's butted right up against that uptrend line, downtrend line. So what we want to see for the day is it to break above and then close above this line. And the MACD's flattened out a bit, as has the RSI. So we're looking for some consolidation, probably right along this $800 mark, 800, 825 mark. And then if it pushes past this downtrend line, we could see it jump up to maybe the $1,000 mark again. That is where the next line of resistance is, 950 to 975, I suppose. So that's what we're looking for throughout the day. Moving over to Litecoin, you can see that it's also showing some consolidation patterns here. The MACD is just about to cross over the yellow line. RSI is looking very flat. MACD histogram showing some very tiny bars. So again, we're looking for some consolidation to move across this downtrend line. And then maybe it can see a bounce on the uptrend line here at $166. For NEO, again, still holding still getting some pressure from this former all-time high line. A lot of resistance there. I honestly expect it to consolidate over to where this downtrend line intersects the former all-time high, and if we're still testing it at that point, I think we will likely see it push out of that and into some clear blue skies. Here the MACD tested the yellow line, came back below. It's still very narrow towards this yellow line. We still have very short bars on the histogram, but they are below that zero line. And the RSI is really flattened out against what looks to be this 60 mark here. So we want to see both of these creep back up in the northern territory, and we'd like to see a potential break through this former all-time high, maybe to meet this all-time high, break through this short downtrend line. Steemit is, they do have a hook up on this RSI, but they are still trending slightly more divergent lower from this yellow line on the MACD. It's sort of flattened out on the histogram. And Komodo, you can see the same. Just a little curve up, fairly narrow on this MACD. It may actually be curving to get closer to this yellow line, and if so, we could test it again. We failed the test last time, so usually on the second pass it will come back and break above that line. So we're looking to see that. Otherwise, I still expect it to consolidate into this intersection. Moving on to Vertcoin, we're actually seeing some very positive growth over the past few days, which is a good sign for Vertcoin. It's coming right up against this downtrend line. The MACD's finally crossed over fully on this yellow line. We want it to keep above that. We're getting a nice solid bar above the zero on this histogram. We can see a more steep upward curve on the RSI rather than it being flat. Quantstamp, much like Vertcoin, Quantstamp has had positive movements over the past few days, and it's coming really close to its downtrend line. Now it's actually met the yellow line on the MACD, and what we want to see is it push and hold above that. We don't yet have a positive bar on the histogram, so we're looking for that, but we are really flat against this 55 mark on the RSI, so that's some positive news for Quantstamp. For Lumen, we're still seeing a sort of downward trend. We want today's bar to really, the whole body to extend above this downtrend line here from 2 days ago. Should bounce off this uptrend line. That would be the expected move, but the histogram is looking like it's diverging a little further than yesterday, getting some fairly long bars on the histogram, sorry. The RSI does look like it's curving up to this 50 line. We want it to meet and pass that 50 for positive momentum. ADA is not looking too strong today. It's got a very tiny candle while still green, but it has dipped below this uptrend line a touch, so we want to see it bounce off of that rather than sink below. Though we do have a strong possibility of trading in this channel between these two downtrend lines. The MACD is still very narrow, but still negative. Histogram lines are quite short, and the RSI is looking fairly flat here along the 37 line. ELF, like Cardano and Lumen, showing some pretty low momentum coming in to today's candle. It's actually much bigger than yesterday's candle, but negative. I expect it to follow along this downtrend line. Might get it all the way down here to this intersection, but we can see that the MACD is getting a little bit more divergent, and the histogram lines are getting a little longer, but the RSI is flattened out nicely. You need to see it pop right back up to that 50 line, and then it should be solid. Poet has finally broken above its downtrend line, so what we want to see is it break this resistance here at 800 Satoshis. It was a support line for a good while, or a couple days, and broke that, so we'd like to see it get above that support before it continues on to this uptrend line. MACD looks like it's closing in on this yellow line, getting some shorter bars on the histogram. We can see a nice upward angle closing in on that 50 line for the RSI. And the last one for today, Sonam. We're seeing a positive growth. It did manage to break through the short-term downtrend line yesterday, and we have a full bar outside of that today. We'd like to see it hold above that, and we don't want to see it dip down and touch this uptrend line, but it is likely. It could bounce off this uptrend line and continue. We still have some minor resistance from this downtrend line here, but the real resistance will come at 3,500 Satoshis. Again, narrow on the MACD, maybe seeing a bit of a curve up, though it's hard to tell at this point. Some short bars on the histogram showing some indecision here. And again, pretty flat, maybe a slight up curve on the RSI. And as always, we want to see it touch and then get above this 50 line. So that's the market update for this morning. If you found this helpful, go ahead and click that like, share with all your friends, and become a subscriber. Click that notification bell, and you can be updated anytime I come online, post a new video. If you're on Steam, go ahead and give me a follow. I'll follow you back. But for now, this is Chris from Hash Relay. I'll talk to y'all later.